we gotta move on. So now the car's cars
Okay,
there.
we're gonna go right off of the cliff.
We're right at the edge. You can hear the rocks crumbling beneath. Let's go ahead and go over.
Now for the real dirt of this update. Last weekend, shortly after all of our papers were signed, Amy reached out to me. She asked if we could meet and talk. Perhaps I should have declined, but I will admit that I was curious about the 24-year-old prodigy and until recently a virgin person who was Joe's affair partner, so I agreed to meet her for lunch. So the first thing is Amy is very pregnant, like third trimester. She confirmed she is due in mid-October, which means the affair has been going on a whole lot longer than Joe let on. Whatever, it's water under the bridge as the divorce is almost final. However, after some polite but chilly pleasantries, she asked me, when am I going to be moving out of the house? Because surely Joe has been patient enough with giving me time to get my life together, and her apartment is small and they're needing a space for the baby. What? I told her she must be mistaken, as the house is mine, inherited from my grandmother, but asked her what else has Joe told her about me and our marriage. And lie after lie, Joe's lies, that is, tumbled out of her mouth along with crumbs of the real story. These gems include, well, it was true that she and Joe met at work, but it was about a year ago, when they were both interviewing for the executive training program they are now in. Amy said, though, that they first became friends before getting together romantically. Apparently, Joe told her that he was legally married, but that we have been separated in spirit and living separate lives since 2020. But he didn't want to kick me out and make me homeless during the pandemic because I didn't make much money and we live in an HCOL. Joe told Amy that we met in our early 20s when he was mentoring me in a GED prep program, that I was a high school dropout who was struggling with addiction, and essentially that he rescued me, helped me get clean, tutored me for my GED, and had been supporting me since gradually working on college classes. He told Amy I was working on prepping for an IT career and was currently making $45K as a help desk technician, and that he wanted to make sure I could at least afford a studio apartment. He also told Amy that we had separated because I had relapsed and he couldn't have a meaningful relationship with a drug addict. Ugh. All of this is lies. My entire history of drug use is occasionally sharing a joint in college, maybe 4 to 5 times total. Never anything harder. It is true that Amy was a 24-year-old virgin prodigy. She seemed dismayed that Joe had told me that, though, at least the virgin part. Said it wasn't a moral issue, she really was just focused on school and work and didn't make time to date. And that generally, guys her age seemed mostly interested in casual hookups, especially the younger finance bro types, and she wasn't interested in that, but that Joe took the time to get to know her and was actually interested in a meaningful relationship. I asked her if the pregnancy was planned. She said no, of course not, but it was a miracle because Joe had a vasectomy, so they took that as a sign that they should keep the baby. No, Joe did not have a vasectomy. As we were planning to be a child-free couple, I suggested it a couple of times over the years. He firmly stated he didn't want to alter his body like that, so he left birth control as my responsibility. So it really does seem that Amy is pretty blameless here. I mean, those of us who have been around the block would likely know not to believe a guy who claims to be separated but is still legally married and living with his wife, but without her having any dating or relationship experience, I can see where she would have taken him at his word about everything. After all, I didn't know anything was amiss with Joe until a couple of months ago, and I was married to him. Of course, Amy didn't want to believe me, and I don't blame her for that either. After all, she's been in a relationship with Joe for close to a year and is 7+ months pregnant with his baby, who is coming soon, ready or not. I couldn't immediately refute everything she said, but showed her a couple of things. First, a picture of me in my late teens with my grandmother in front of my house, and also my LinkedIn profile, which shows my current job and education. I told her to do what she wanted with the info and to please stay safe and take care of herself, and then said my goodbyes. Yes, it was all very odd and unexpected and surreal. Sorry this is so long, but figured those following my tale would be interested in this turn. I'm not sure if I will update again, maybe in a year or so when I have truly processed everything with lots of therapy and I'm hopefully on to living my best life. As for Joe and Amy, it's up to them to find whatever their path is. I do hope she wises up and leaves him, but I'm sadly not confident about that. I'm sure he will be able to spin all of this in his favor because that's what he does, but I also can't make it my problem anymore.
He done told that little girl that she was a drug addict.
Wow.
We are officially over the cliff.
We went
No, I
straight
thought you
over the
was gonna
cliff
say something. That's not over the cliff.
and right into the water. Dude.
Very manipulative behavior. Yeah. There was a seventh
That's
video that
sociopathic behavior, manipulative and disassociative. That's red flags should be going.
there is a seventh
Hopefully,
video, but it's 5 minutes long, and we're already at the first hour. So I'm just
sorry.
going to give a summary of what's going on.
No.
Amy came back, said she believed everything that Joe said, and that Joe told her that of course she would say stuff like that because that's what drug addicts say to make themselves look better. This time OP was prepared though. Now unfortunately she had to have a dossier of information, but whatever. So OP
Dang, you should
showed
play the video.
the deed to the house with her name on it. She showed her LinkedIn profile and several pictures of the association that she was in with her in the association. Plus she showed since they've been Amy and the husband been together for a year, saying they haven't been together in spirit. She showed text messages between him and the husband, OP and the husband, of it wasn't nothing raunchy or anything, but I love you, take care, cutesy things that couples that are not on the outs would do for each other. And guess what? Amy believed her now.
Well,
but like what Dusty said, but you have to have a dossier of information for her to believe it. Now, what's
they
going
don't
to happen?
want to believe it. Their whole life has been built upon lies.
Yeah, your whole life, your whole existence, your whole happiness.
Coming into grips with this. I feel for this. She was lied to.
I do feel for Amy because she hasn't had any. She had work life experience. Otherwise, 20 anything, and you on the road to an executive position is phenomenal. But she hasn't had real world experience. And sometimes there are people who make that what's the word? Sometimes you have to make that decision on which path it is. And it wasn't until 2020, the pandemic and everything else, where we heard the word work-life balance, where I want to work hard. I want to achieve things in my job, but not at the expense of my house and my home and my family and my friends, my mental health and my enjoyment.
My heart. Yeah.
Yeah. So she just made the decision that I'm gun-ho into business. And unfortunately for her, this was the consequence of it. You was easily manipulated by a guy who built your love and now your child off
You
of
are
flat
still naive.
lies, just lies. Like there's no truth in it other than I used to stay in that house. That's the only truth that I think I've heard in this whole story.